Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sandra and you're watching The Schwoven's Nest. Today I'm bringing you a Timber Tuesday Christmas edition where all of my projects are created with wood. The first project is using these three little wooden pieces. I'm going to cut one of them down so it's just a little bit shorter than the others, and I'm just going to use my handsaw and miter box as you see me doing here. So I decided to create some cute little decor with these sticks of wood. I'm going to create a Santa first, which is what I'm doing right now. And I'm just going to leave it very simple. I'm just going to paint the top portion of it. That first section is for his hat. Now I'm taking some white and I'm going to draw in his fluffy brim of the hat just by making some little arcs into the paint and then creating a straight line next to the red. Moving on to his beard, I'm just going to draw two little arcs on the opposite direction for his mustache, and then I'm going to just paint in a little whimsical beard that kind of goes down to a little bit of a point. But you can do whatever you want for his beard. You could even just do it straight across if you so desired. Moving back to the red, and you can see here that I'm switching out my paintbrushes because I don't want to have to wash one in between all the time. I always have a multitude of different sizes of brushes, and that just makes it more convenient for me. So now I'm just going to kind of very gently go around the edges of my beard, and then I will add a little bit more of a belly to him with the red as well. I'm going to continue on with the red to make the rest of his coat and his pants, and I'm just leaving a little strip there for his belt. Then I'm going to use a black paint, fill in his belt, and fill in some boots. Taking the smaller piece of wood, I'm going to make this my little snowman. And as I was painting this, I realized I should have painted on the back side of this and left that little nice wood grain on the back so the back looks pretty. But oh well, do as I say and not as I do. Anyway, I'm going to give him a good coat of some white chalk paint and then I'm going to set him aside to dry. My little snowman is dry, so I'm using some black paint just to create a little scarf, and that will also then divide his head from his body. And using the end of my paintbrush, I'm just dipping it into the black paint and giving him three cute little buttons. Using the rounded paintbrush end as my guide, I'm just going to press it down and create these cute little boots for my snowman. He's going to get some eyes the same way as I did his buttons, just using a smaller paintbrush. Then I'm going to use a little bit of the brown that I have left over on one of my other brushes and just build him a little carrot nose. Using a fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm just going to give him a little crooked grin. Using some burnt umber acrylic paint, I'm just going across the bottom, creating a stripe, which will be the tree trunk for this little Christmas tree. I've got some hunter green acrylic paint, which I'm going to use to color in the Christmas tree branches. I'm just going to actually color the whole thing solid, but I'm making really sure not to get anything on the edges. That's why I'm kind of dragging my paintbrush out from the middle to the edges. I'm going to use the end of my paintbrush again, and this time dipping it into some red. I'm going to create some cute little ornaments for the tree. To get different sized ornaments, I'm going to dip and then go onto the Christmas tree a couple of times as you see me doing, because that will just give you a little bit of a smaller dot. Of course, I need to make these a little distressed looking, so I'm just going to use a small paintbrush, dip it in some white, and I'm going to pull it up from the edges of my tree. So that will just give me a little bit of distressing along the edge. I'll probably do a little bit more on the corners like you see me doing, and then just continue on down to the bottom of the green portion. I'm doing the same for my little Santa, but I'm only going to hit the red and black areas. I'm going to come back with a different brush and hit the white areas with some black, and that's what the snowman will get too. You'll see that on my little Santa here, I did two little black eyes and a cute little red nose. Here I'm giving the snowman's scarf and his little boots some distressing with the white, and then I'll flip over to the black and do the same thing on all of the white edges. I thought my tree could use a star on the top, so I'm just using one of these little wooden ones that I picked up in a bag of 10 from Dollarama, and I'm just going to leave it the natural wood color. To assemble these and get them to stand up, I'm going to use another little piece of wood that is the same as these. I'm going to put the Christmas tree towards the back. The snowman will be towards the back as well on the other side, and I'm going to put Santa sort of front and center, moving him up just a little wee bit in front of the other two. So I toyed with the idea of leaving this just plain, but then I decided against that, and I'm just going to glue some greenery sprigs. These are kind of like little evergreen sprigs to the back of the sign. I'm going to add some pine cones and some little red pip berries, and this guy is finished. I'd like to give a great big thank you to all of my current and new subscribers. I really appreciate your support, and I couldn't be at almost 30,000 subscribers without you. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you could hit that red button too. For this DIY, I'm going to start by taking two of these larger tumbling tower blocks and glue two of them together. Then I'm just going to set those aside. This is a scrap piece of wood from one of the Dollar Tree Easter signs. I'm just trying to get some of the rest of the paper off of it, just so it'll have a smooth finish at the end. I'm going to use this red and black buffalo check scrapbook paper that I picked up at Michael's, and I'm going to cut a piece to cover the front and the back of this board. To glue them on, I'm just going to use a glue stick and just put lots of it on and then put the paper on, smooth it out, and there won't be any wrinkles or bubbles. I have been using glue sticks with paper for a while now, and I really love the effect of it, much better than Mod Podge. Once the glue's had a chance to dry, I'm just going to take my craft knife and just cut off any of the excess all the way around and making sure I get both sides of the paper. I created two designs, one for the front and one for the back, and they will be available as free printables on my website. I cut them out using Cricut Smart Vinyl, which I love now because it's just so much easier to not have to worry about a cutting mat. And I'm using the Dollar Tree transfer tape, but I did fuzz it a little bit because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too sticky, that it would take some of the paper off, and it worked really well for this project. Now that I've got my designs, I'm just going to take a sanding block from the Dollar Tree and just very gently go around the edges of the paper just to rough it up a little bit and give it more of a distressed look. After I put these decals on, I thought I should have done a few little snowflakes as well, but then I took my chalk paint marker and I just started doing dots on the paper, kind of just sporadically, not in any pattern or anything, just to give it the look of some snow falling. For the other side, I decided to do just little bunches of dots. This made it look like kind of snowballs, but almost like little stars. And I made them different sizes and just, again, put them all over, not in any particular pattern, but just made it look really pretty. Using hot glue, I'm just going to put some on the bottom of the sign and place it in the middle of the two tumbling tower blocks that are laying on the wide side. Then I'll repeat the process for the other tumbling tower blocks. Then I'll have some on the top and some on the bottom, and it'll kind of make it look like a pennant sign. I wanted the wood to look a little bit more rustic, so I'm just taking a wash with burnt umber and some water, and I'm just going to brush it all over the blocks. I didn't think I was going to add anything to this sign, but the more I looked at it, the more I thought it needed a little something. So I grabbed some of these little frosted pine cones that you can get at the Dollar Tree. I don't know if they're available this year, but I did have a whole bunch of them from my stash last year. I added two larger ones to the top and then added a tiny little bit of greens in between each of the pine cones. And I really love this sign. I think it's one of my favorites. My video was posted on Thanksgiving Thursday for the United States. So if any of my American friends are watching today or over your holiday weekend, please enjoy a wonderful time with your family and friends. This last project is using one of these long planks that you can get at the Dollar Tree and two of the larger size tumbling tower blocks. I'm just marking off where I need to cut on the long end and also on the short end. Using a utility knife and the square from the Dollar Tree, which comes in super handy, I'm just going to go ahead and score this about 4 or 5 times, and then I'll be able to just snap it loose. Using hot glue, I'm going to attach the tumbling tower blocks to the sides of the plank. It would have been helpful if I would have put two planks together. It was a little tricky trying to get some of that glue not to show so much. So I think if I was creating this project again, I would use two of the Dollar Tree planks and just glue them together just to make a more solid base. Then I'm going to just add some of these half round beads and make little feet for my little tray. I started by giving this a couple of coats of my white chalk paint, but in the end, I do something different to it. So if you like the white, go for it. If not, just leave the wood as is because we're going to end up staining it at the end anyway. I've got two of these wooden Christmas trees that I picked up from Michael's, and I think they were $1.50 each, so I thought that was a really good deal. I'm just taking some of this spackling and filling in the holes on both of them. I've got a color in here called Hauser Green. I don't know what that means, but it's kind of a moss color. I'm adding some water to it because I want to create a wash or a stain out of it, and that's what I'm going to use to apply onto the Christmas trees. I'm going to do the front and the back of the trees, making sure I get the sides too. This is probably one of my favorite colors of green. I use it all year round on my projects. For the little tree trunks, I did the same thing, just using some of my burnt umber, and this paintbrush was still wet, so I just dipped it into the lid and put a little bit of a wash on the tree trunks. These are the same wooden stars that I used on my first project, and I'm just going to stain a couple of them front and back because I'm going to put this on the top of each of the trees. So here's the mess I made with this white bottom tray portion. I took that green and I dry brushed it, and man, was it ugly. So this is where the stain came into play. I'm using a walnut stain and a dry brush, and I'm going to let some of the white peek through, but I'm pretty much going to cover all of this with the brown stain, which is what I should have done when the wood was still in its raw state. It would have looked a lot better, but I'm still happy with how it turned out. I'm just going to use hot glue to apply my stars, and then I'm going to hot glue the Christmas trees to the side of this little tray, and I have created a napkin holder if you haven't already guessed. This will be a really cute addition to my Christmas table this year. I really hope you enjoyed my projects today. I think they are super cute and really easy to create. If you like this kind of content, I would love for you to stick around by hitting that subscribe button. As well, the thumbs up button really helps my channel get noticed on YouTube, so I would really appreciate it if you could click that too. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.